Get your ghetto self away from this door. This building is for real citizens. Security guard Daniel Porter's voice cuts sharp through the quiet morning as he blocks a black woman in fancy business clothes outside the court building. Before she says anything, his hand grabs her shoulder. "Sir, I work here." Diana Thompson speaks calmly. "No way." Porter whistles loud to his partner. "Rodriguez, help me take out this trash." Two guards grab both arms, pulling her backwards across the ground. Her expensive leather bag scrapes concrete. As her heels try to grip, building workers freeze at windows, phones recording as they watch a professionally dressed woman dragged like garbage before the very place where fairness should live. Diana doesn't fight, doesn't shout, simply stays calm while grown men treat her like trash before the building that's supposed to protect justice itself. The courtroom feels heavy as officer. Daniel Porter fixes his badge, walking to the witness box. Lawyer Mitchell, Hayes, sharp in his expensive suit, walks forward with confidence, suggesting lots of cop defense experience. "Officer Porter, tell us about your security work." Hayes starts. Porter sits taller, chest expanding proudly. 15 years protecting this building, sir. Night shift, 6 evening to 6 morning, past 10 years straight. No, every hallway, every rule, every possible danger. Working your normal shift that morning. No, Officer Chen called sick with stomach flu. Boss has asked me to cover morning hours as emergency. Porter's tone suggests he's doing everyone a big favor. He's only worked daytime maybe 5 times my whole time here. Hayes nods. Sympathetically. So daytime workers and routines weren't familiar to you. Exactly. Night work is totally different. We handle repair crews, fixes, cleaning staff. Daytime brings lawyers, office workers, judges constantly coming and going. Don't know faces since. I'm leaving when they're arriving. Porter shifts, warming to his story. Now, I've seen maybe 2 black judges in 15 years here, both older gentlemen, Judge Martinez and Judge Freeman. But this woman, he shakes his head dismissively. Nothing looked like any judge I'd ever seen. Describe what you saw that morning. About 6:45, I see this woman walking toward the restricted door. That's judge-only entry. Dressed okay, I'll admit. But something felt wrong. Porter's eyes narrow, remembering. My experience shows people who belong somewhere don't hesitate. Don't look around nervously. Don't act sneaky. This woman was acting sneaky. Absolutely. When I walked up explaining door restrictions, immediate attitude, started demanding things, claiming she belonged here. Exactly what troublemakers say when trying to get into places they don't belong. Hayes walks toward jury. What happened next? Porter leans forward, voice getting harder. Increasingly upset and resistant behavior. Kept saying she had legitimate business in restricted areas, couldn't show proper ID or permission. 15 years experience? That's a major warning sign. Did you try checking her identity? Of course I did. Asked for building ID, judge papers, anything proving she belonged.
Couldn't show any.
MC6 Porter spreads hands like the answer's obvious. Look, I don't assume based on looks. Follow rules. No ID, no entry, period. About the physical removal? Porter's face turned stern. Woman refused multiple lawful orders to leave restricted areas. Getting disruptive, voice getting louder, attracting early morning people's attention. It's called backup. Because situation was getting worse, Officer Rodriguez came. Correct. Rodriguez has partnered with me 3 years. Confirms everything I'm saying. When someone refuses lawful orders, becomes difficult, we walk them off the property. Standard security. Rules maintaining order and safety. Hayes pauses dramatically. Did you use too much force? Absolutely not. Minimum force needed, removing difficult individual from restricted area. Escorted, not beaten, toward public areas where she belonged. Porter's voice carries righteous anger. Followed every rule requirement exactly. Why not simply call the office? To check her identity? Porter looks genuinely confused. Sir, at 6:45 morning, office isn't open. Building runs on minimal security staff. If everyone claiming they belonged could demand we call around checking their stories, we'd never maintain proper security. In your professional opinion, did you handle this situation right? Without question, protected building security followed. Established rules. Treated individual with identical professional standards. Applied to everyone. Porter's voice gains confidence. Handled hundreds of similar situations 15 years. This was textbook security work. Then defense lawyer Lisa Chen stands up for questions, and Porter's confident look flickers. Officer Porter, you mentioned working nights for 10 years? When did you last learn about daytime judge workers? Porter hesitates. Not typically my job. So you wouldn't know if new judges got hired recently? Night shift doesn't get updates on office changes unless it affects our specific work. Chen pulls out papers. Did you know Judge Diana Thompson officially got hired at this building 3 weeks ago? Porter's face tightens. Wasn't told. No. Wouldn't checking worker lists be basic security rules? We keep to our assigned areas and jobs. I focus on my work. Job is recognizing allowed workers, correct? Confidence drains from Porter's voice. Within normal work scope? Yes. You made zero effort checking if Ms. Thompson might be allowed before physically removing her. Porter's jaw clenches. She didn't show proper ID. Did you ask what ID type she had? Long pause. She should have known to show building papers. That's not what I asked. Officer Porter, did you specifically ask what ID she carried? Longer pause. I followed standard rules. Chen sets papers down. Officer Porter, in 15 years' experience, how many times did you physically remove someone from building property? Porter shifts uncomfortably. Don't keep exact counts. About maybe 15, 20 times. How many were black women in professional? Close Hayes objects, but damage shows on Porter's face. The confident guard starting testimony now looks like someone realizing his story has problems he hadn't thought about. Chen continues without stopping. You said you don't make looks-based guesses? But is it true you immediately assumed Ms. Thompson didn't belong based only on seeing her walk toward the door? I saw suspicious behavior. What behavior exactly? Walking toward a door. Porter's voice rises defensively. She looked out of place. Out of place how? Courtroom falls silent as Porter realizes he's contradicted his own testimony about not making looks-based guesses. Face getting red as he struggles finding answers, not sounding exactly like what it is, judging by race with power. I used professional judgment based on 15 years' experience, but damage is done. The confident guard became someone whose story falls apart piece by piece, everyone watching in real time. Diana Thompson stands up with commanding grace, walks toward witness stand, not like someone asking for justice, but like someone who belongs in this courtroom and weighs audiences. Don't yet understand. Her voice carries the measured pace of someone very familiar with legal stuff. State your name for the record, Lawyer Chen begins. Diana Catherine Thompson. Voice clear, professional, unshaken by morning's events. Miss Thompson, describe your morning routine that day. Diana adjusts posture slightly, hands folded calmly. Arrived. At building about 6:45 as usual habit. Prefer arriving early to review my morning prep work, making sure everything's properly organized for what's ahead. Your morning prep work? Specific steps I follow before starting daily jobs. Needs quiet time, reviewing case files, checking schedule, mentally getting ready for tasks ahead. The way she talks about procedures and scheduling suggests someone with serious power over their own schedule. Why choose main door that morning instead of other doors? Diana's face shows frustration quickly controlled.
Electronic entry system broke.
Usual entry point wasn't working. Forced to use main door. Inconvenient, but I assumed it would be a minor delay. Your usual entry point? Yes, I typically use a more private entry route, allowing me to reach my work area without going through public building areas. She pauses meaningfully. Privacy and efficiency matter when you have serious responsibilities. Chen walks closer. Describe your interaction. With Officer Porter? Diana's composure never changes, but voice carries subtle steel. Officer Porter came at me with immediate hostility. Before I could explain why I was there, he made degrading assumptions about why I was there. Language wasn't just rude, it was deliberately mean. More specific. Called me ghetto trash, told me to go find the welfare office. When I tried explaining I belonged there, he became increasingly mean and dismissive. Diana's tone stays controlled, but hurt is clear beneath the professionalism. Officer Porter never asked for ID, never asked about my purpose, simply decided based on looking at me that I had no good reason being there. What happened when you tried explaining? I stayed calm, tried to calm things down. Told him I had business there, belonged in the building. His response was calling for backup, treating me like a threat. Nana's eyes flashed with controlled anger. Was dragged across concrete like a criminal. While co-workers watched from windows and doorways, courtroom stirs at the word co-workers. The meaning isn't immediately clear to most watchers. Did you fight the officers? Absolutely not. Yes. Despite the embarrassment and physical pain, I kept my dignity. Fighting would have only made an already wrong situation worse. Voice carries the authority of someone used to making decisions under pressure. Sometimes the most powerful response to unfairness is staying calm, letting the truth speak for itself. Chen walks toward the jury. Ms. Thompson. You mentioned business at the building that morning. Explain more? Diana pauses, choosing words carefully. Had professional duties requiring my presence exactly at 900 hours. These duties involve serious responsibilities affecting multiple people's lives, needing extensive preparation. Were these duties scheduled ahead of time? Yes, several weeks. My morning schedule is typically planned far ahead because of the nature of my work. Missing or being late would have serious consequences for many people. What kind of work needs such exact scheduling? Another meaningful pause. Work involving making decisions affecting people's futures. Work needing absolute being on time and thorough preparation. Work demanding both legal knowledge and moral authority. The way she describes her work suggests something way more important than typical building worker, though she's careful not revealing too much. Ms. Thompson, you seem very familiar with building rules and procedures. Explain why. I've spent a lot of time in courtrooms throughout my career. Understand how these places work, what's expected of workers, how security should properly balance safety with respecting people's rights. Her knowledge goes deeper than typical visitor or even lawyer. In your experience, was Officer Porter's behavior right? Diana's voice becomes firmer. Officer Porter broke every professional security principle, made guesses based on prejudice, failed following basic checking procedures, made worse a situation needing only simple talking. She pauses, legal knowledge showing. More importantly, failed recognizing that true security comes from treating all people with dignity while properly checking papers. Did his actions affect your ability to do your professional duties? A lot. The incident delayed my arrival to my work area, caused unnecessary stress before I needed doing duties needing complete focus and clear thinking. The weight in her voice suggests these duties are more important than anyone realizes. Hayes, Porter's lawyer, begins questions with doubt. Ms. Thompson, is it true you could have avoided this entire situation by simply showing ID? Diana's response is measured but pointed. I shouldn't have been required to prove my right to exist in public buildings. Officer Porter never asked for ID, made guesses, acted on prejudice. But surely you understand security worries. I understand security very well. I also understand the difference between real security measures and discriminatory harassment. Voice carries the authority of someone who's made such choices professionally. You claim professional duties at 9 o'clock. What exactly is your job? Diana meets his look steadily. I work in the justice system, making sure legal stuff is done fairly according to law. That's rather vague. Are you a lawyer? Slight smile crosses Diana's face. My role in the justice system needs extensive legal knowledge. Yes, but you're not answering the question directly. I'm answering as exactly as the question allows. Something almost royal in her composure, as if she's used to controlling conversations rather than being controlled by them. Hayes pushes harder. Why won't you simply say your job title? Diana's pause is full of meaning, because my job title would completely change how this courtroom sees everything that happened this morning. And I believe Officer Porter's actions should be judged on their own, not based on who I turned out to be. Courtroom buzzes with guessing. Who is this woman whose identity could change everything? What job does she hold that would transform the entire story? But Diana Thompson isn't ready revealing that yet. She sits with quiet confidence of someone holding the ultimate winning card, waiting for exactly the right moment to play it. 3 weeks earlier, Chief Judge Patricia Williams raised her right hand before a packed building ceremony hall. Please welcome our newest judge hire, the Honorable Diana Catherine Thompson. Diana stood in judge robes for the first time, taking the oath that changed her from prosecutor to judge. Local news captured the moment. Building staff clapped. Her swearing-in became part of official records. Yet Daniel Porter, working his usual night shift, never saw any of it. Now in her home office, lined with Harvard law degrees and prosecution awards, Diana reviews a file that could change everything. Her phone buzzes. Diana, have you decided about going after this officially? Chief Judge Williams' voice carries worry. Patricia, this isn't just about what happened to me. Diana sets down security camera pictures. It's about a pattern needing exposure, but filing charges against building security while you're our newest judge, which is exactly why I must do this. If I don't challenge this behavior now, I'm saying it's okay. Diana pulls out a thick rule book with her notes. I helped write these security rules in my previous job as legal advisor. Porter broke 6 different procedures. Porter claims he didn't. No, you were. That's the problem. He never asked. Saw a black woman, made guesses. After the call, Diana opens her laptop. Reviews security camera videos gotten through Discovery. Videos show disturbing patterns over months. Timestamp March 15th. Dr. Robert Williams, important civil rights lawyer, aggressively questioned about his presence. Porter demands seeing Williams' lawyer license, something never asked from white lawyers. Timestamp April 3rd. Maria Santos, Latina court writer, stopped and questioned about using the staff door she's used for 3 years. Timestamp May 20th. Professor David Kim, Asian American law teacher, forced to show multiple ID forms before being allowed to attend a public hearing. Video. After video shows the identical pattern. Porter treating people of color like threats while waving white visitors through with almost no checking. Diana checks these incidents against complaint records. What comes out is troubling. 7 complaints filed against Porter over 2 years, all thrown out without investigation. Every person complaining was a person of color. She reviews Porter's work files. Performance reviews praise his watchfulness, maintaining proper building atmosphere. Boss notes praise his active security measures that somehow only target minorities. Language is carefully coded, but the pattern is clear. Her assistant Jennifer arrives with more evidence. Judge Thompson, here are the phone records you asked for. Jennifer sets down papers. Porter's conversations with coworkers show worrying language about building visitors. Records show break room talks where Porter jokes about keeping certain types in their place, refers to professional black women as probably here for child support cases. Training records show Porter hasn't attended diversity or civil rights classes in 5 years. Jennifer continues. Always finds excuses to skip required sessions. All security complaints are reviewed by Sergeant Morrison, Porter's boss and personal friend, for 12 years. No independent checking exists. Diana studies the evidence carefully. Audio recordings catch Porter using racial slurs in the building break room. Worker statements describe a pattern of discriminatory behavior over years. Security camera videos show Porter's double standard in action, polite for white visitors, suspicious of everyone else. Most damning evidence comes from Porter's own incident reports. His language shows his mindset, describing professional black women as aggressive and difficult for simply existing in building spaces, while describing similar behavior from white people as assertive or confident. She discovers Porter's history includes 2 previous too much force complaints. Black defendants, family members, both thrown out with almost no review. As Diana organizes the evidence, the size becomes clear. This isn't about one guard's bad morning. It's about racism hiding behind security rules. It's enabled by bosses who value keeping peace over protecting civil rights. She looks at her swearing-in photo, remembering her promise to uphold justice fairly. Tomorrow offers a chance to prove those weren't empty words. The irony hits her. Porter's actions that morning will expose the very system that protected him for years. His assumption she was powerless will eventually show just how powerful she really is. But more importantly, its case will make sure nobody else goes through what she did. It's being dragged away from their own workplace, simply for being black. Justice, Diana realizes, sometimes comes through the most unexpected power switches. Lawyer Lisa Chen walks to the evidence table with the confidence of someone holding dynamite. She lifts a tablet showing security camera video that will destroy Officer Porter's carefully built story, Your Honor. I'd like to show Exhibit A, building security videos from the past 6 months, showing Officer Porter's interactions with various visitors. The courtroom's large screen flickers on. Ow! The first video shows a timestamp from 3 months earlier. Dr. Robert Williams, respected black lawyer in an expensive suit, walks toward the door carrying a briefcase just like Diana's. Porter's voice comes through the speakers. Hold there, sir. Where do you think you're going? Dr. Williams stops politely. I'm here for the Morrison hearing. I'm the defense lawyer. I'm going to need seeing some ID. Can't be too careful these days. Video shows Porter looking at Dr. Williams. Lawyer license? Driver's license? Business cards for nearly 5 minutes while a white lawyer walks past without being stopped. Porter's body language is the same as his interaction with Diana, aggressive standing, dismissive movements, treating a respected professional like a possible threat. Explain this interaction, Officer Porter, Chen asks. Porter shifts uncomfortably. That was standard security rules. We check papers for everyone. Chen clicks the next video. Same day, 20 minutes later. A young white woman in casual clothes walks toward the same door. Morning, miss, Porter says cheerfully, stepping aside, to let her pass. Actually, I'm not sure where I'm supposed to go, the woman says. I'm here for jury duty. It's my first time. No problem at all. Let's go to the second floor. They'll help you up there. No ID asked for. No paper checking. No aggressive questions. Is this your standard rules, Officer Porter? Chen's voice drips with sarcasm. The videos continue, each more damning than the last. Maria Santos, Latina court writer, questioned about staff door access while white workers walk past without questions. Professor David Kim, Asian American law teacher, forced to show 3 ID forms to attend a public hearing while white watchers enter freely. Porter's face gets redder with each video. His lawyer objects over and over, but the pattern is clear. These are isolated incidents taken out of context, Porter starts. Isolated. Chen interrupts. We have 17 documented cases over 6 months. Should we watch all of them? But the real bombshell comes when Chen introduces phone recordings. Porter's voice fills the courtroom, captured during break room conversations. You should have seen this uppity black woman today acting like she owned the place. Had to put her in her place real quick. These people think they can just walk in anywhere like they belong. That's why we're here, keeping standards up. Don't care how fancy they dress, can spot trouble from miles away. It's all about keeping the right kind of people in, the wrong kind out. The courtroom erupts. Porter's face goes pale, hearing his own words played back. His lawyer frantically writes notes. Knowing the defense is falling apart in real time, Chen calls her first witness. Dr. Robert Williams himself. Dr. Williams, you're a partner at Morrison Carter Associates, correct? That's right. 30 years. Practicing law? 15 as a federal prosecutor? Describe your interaction with Officer Porter 3 months ago. Dr. Williams' voice carries quiet dignity mixed with frustration. I was treated like a criminal for the simple act of entering a building, where I've practiced law for decades. Officer Porter questioned my papers, demanded multiple ID forms, spoke with a tone of suspicion I've never experienced from building security. How did this make you feel? Embarrassed, angry, but mostly worried that if this is how he treats a known lawyer, what does he do to ordinary people who can't defend themselves? Chen's next witness is Maria Santos, the court writer. Miss Santos, how long have you worked at this building? 8 years. Been using the staff door my entire time here. Describe your interaction with Officer Porter. Maria's voice shakes a little. He stopped me like I was sneaking into my own workplace. demanded to know why I was using the restricted door, made me prove I worked there. Meanwhile, 3 white court workers walked past without any questions. Did this affect your work? I was late to a meeting because of the delay, but worse, I felt like I had to justify my right to exist in a place where I've worked professionally for nearly 10 years. The pattern becomes clear as witness after witness tells of the same treatment. Each person of color stopped, questioned, forced to prove they belonged while white visitors passed freely. Chen shows Porter's training records next. Officer Porter, when was your last diversity training session? It's been a while. 5 years, according to these records. You've missed 17 required sensitivity training sessions, claiming schedule problems each time. My shift makes it hard. Yet you managed to attend gun training, overtime certification, 3 professional development seminars during the same time. Porter has no answer. The most devastating evidence comes from Sergeant Morrison, Porter's boss, called as a hostile witness. Sergeant Morrison, how many complaints have been filed against Officer Porter in the past 2 years? Morrison squirms. I'd have to check the exact number. I'll help you. 7 formal complaints, all from people of color, all thrown out without investigation. Explain this pattern. Officer Porter is a good guard. Sometimes people misunderstand standard security procedures. Misunderstand, or do you mean they correctly understand discriminatory treatment disguised as procedure? Chen shows Morrison's own evaluation notes. Porter shows excellent judgment identifying possible security risks, maintains high standards for building access. When you wrote identifying possible security risks, what did you mean? Morrison's pause speaks volumes. People who seem out of place. And how do you figure out who seems out of place in a public building? Another telling pause. Professional judgment based on experience that somehow only flags people of color as suspicious. The courtroom buzzes as the big picture becomes clear. This isn't just one bad guard. It's a system that's enabled and protected. Discriminatory behavior for years. Chen's final evidence piece is a statistical study prepared by a civil rights expert. The numbers are shocking. Porter stops and questions people of color at a rate 13 times higher than white visitors. He asks for additional ID from minorities 89% of the time versus 3% for white people. Physical fights occur only with people of color. These statistics don't lie, Chen tells the jury. They show a clear pattern of racial profiling that's been enabled. It's protected and rewarded by a broken system. Porter's lawyer tries damage control during his turn. Officer Porter, do you think you're racist? Absolutely not. I treat everyone fairly. But the evidence has already spoken louder than any denial. The videos, recordings, statistics, witness testimony create an overwhelming picture of systematic discrimination hiding behind a badge. As the evidence presentation ends, courtroom understands they've seen something bigger than one morning's incident. They've seen how racism works in plain sight, protected by those in power. Enabled by a culture of willful blindness, Porter sits at the defendant's table. No longer the confident guard who started this trial. He's been exposed as the embodiment of a system that judges people by skin color while claiming to serve justice equally. But the biggest reveal is still to come. Lawyer Chen walks to Diana for what everyone assumes will be routine. Follow-up testimony. The courtroom has settled into a predictable rhythm. Nobody expects that the next 2 minutes will rewrite everything, Miss Thompson. You mentioned professional duties that morning. Can you be specific about these duties? Diana adjusts her posture, commanding greater attention. Her voice carries new authority. I was scheduled to preside over the 9 o'clock criminal docket. Needed to arrive early to review case files. Prepare for the morning's court work. The word preside hangs in the air like lightning before thunder. Jury members lean forward, not quite understanding what they've heard. When you say preside, can you clarify your role? I am the Honorable Judge Diana Catherine Thompson, hired at this building 3 weeks ago. I was arriving to do my duties as presiding judge of Criminal Court Division. The courtroom explodes. Gasps. Gasps echo from the gallery. Jury members' mouths fall open. Porter's face drains of color as the magnitude crashes over him. His lawyer drops his pen, staring in disbelief. Judge Martinez pounds his gavel repeatedly. Order, order in this courtroom. Court clerk Janet Morrison stands shakily. Your Honor, Judge Thompson was indeed scheduled for the 9 o'clock criminal docket that morning. She was supposed to be in this very courtroom. The irony hits like a physical force. Porter stopped a judge from entering her own building to preside over her own courtroom. The woman he dragged across concrete, called ghetto trash, outranks everyone except the chief judge. Porter's world falls apart visibly. His hands shake as he realizes he didn't just assault a citizen, he assaulted a sitting judge. His 15 years of experience failed to recognize the newest judge. His trained eye for troublemakers missed one of the building's most important people, Judge. Thompson wasn't visiting the building, Chen continues, savoring each word. She was coming to work to her job as a judge in the very system Officer Porter claimed to protect. The revelation puts every piece of evidence in new context. Those professional duty sentencing hearings and criminal trials, her building familiarity, she helped write the procedures, her calm authority, she's trained to make life-changing decisions under pressure. Porter's lawyer whispers frantically, but Porter seems frozen. The confident guard has been replaced by a man facing career-ending reality, Judge Thompson. How did Officer Porter's actions affect your judge duties? Diana's response carries judge weight. The criminal docket was delayed 45 minutes while I recovered from the fight, changed into judge robes. Defendants in jail cells waited because Officer Porter decided I didn't look like I belonged in my own workplace. Real consequences come out. Defendants, victims, families affected because Porter's prejudices stopped a judge from working. Did you consider revealing your identity during the incident? I shouldn't have to prove my worth to exist in public spaces. Officer Porter's behavior should be judged on its own, not based on who I turned out to be. Diana pauses meaningfully. Every person deserves dignity regardless of position or power. Stunned silence fills the courtroom as Porter's mistake's full size sinks in. He didn't just assault a citizen, he assaulted a judge. Didn't just make a professional mistake, he committed a federal crime against the judiciary. Didn't just embarrass himself, he embarrassed the entire building before its newest judge. Porter finally speaks, voice barely heard. I didn't know. No, Diana responds with quiet steel. You didn't ask. You saw a black woman, assumed she didn't belong. Your 15 years of experience taught you everything except basic human dignity. The revelation changes everything. What started as a civil rights case has become unprecedented AI. Sitting judge seeking justice for her own assault by building security. The power dynamic hasn't just shifted, it's completely flipped. Officer Daniel Porter, who dragged Judge Diana Thompson from her own building, now sits asking for mercy from the very system he claimed to protect. The hunter became the hunted, and justice showed its ultimate irony. The woman he thought was powerless holds more power than he ever imagined. The revelation that Diana Thompson is a sitting judge has shattered Porter's defense, but legal work must continue. Judge Martinez calls a brief break to allow emotions to settle. But when court starts again, the atmosphere has completely changed. Everyone now understands they're witnessing something. Unprecedented federal judge going after justice for her own assault by building security. Power dynamics haven't just shifted, they've been destroyed and rebuilt entirely. Lawyer Chen walks to Porter for questions with renewed purpose. Porter, who started the trial with swagger, now looks like a condemned man waiting for punishment. Officer Porter, you've just learned you physically assaulted a sitting federal judge. How does that make you feel? Porter's voice cracks. I'm devastated. Had no idea? You had no idea because you never asked. Saw a black woman, immediately assumed she was a threat, correct? No, that's not Officer Porter, in your 15 years of experience. How many white women have you physically dragged from building property? Porter's lawyer objects, but Judge Martinez allows the question. Porter's silence speaks volumes. I'll take that as 0. How many black women? Another crushing silence. The record shows 5, including Judge Thompson. Can you explain this pattern? Porter's face gets red. Each situation was different. Different how? It's different skin color, triggering different responses. I don't see color, said Officer Porter. You just physically assaulted a federal judge because you don't see color. You stopped her from entering her own workplace because you're colorblind. The courtroom. Watches Porter squirm as his standard defenses fall apart under reality's weight. Chen pulls out Porter's work file. Your training records show you've missed 17 required diversity sessions. Why? Schedule problems. Yet you attended every gun training. Overtime certification, professional development seminar during the same time. Seems you only have schedule problems with learning about civil rights. Porter has no answer. Officer Porter, do you believe Judge Thompson looked like a criminal that morning? The situation was confusing. Professionally dressed woman carrying an expensive briefcase walking to a building door confused. You, without proper ID, you never asked for ID, immediately assumed she didn't belong. Isn't that correct? Porter's voice barely registers. Yes. The admission hangs in the air like a death sentence. Porter just confessed to exactly what everyone suspected. He judged Judge Thompson based only on her appearance. Chen pushes her advantage. Officer Porter, what specifically about Judge Thompson made you think she was a threat? Porter's mouth opens, closes without sound. Any answer he gives will expose his racial bias. Was it her expensive suit? Her professional manner? Her calm voice? What about Judge Thompson's screamed welfare case to you? I made an error in judgment. An error in judgment or a revelation of your true beliefs about black women. Porter's lawyer objects desperately, but the damage is complete. Porter's been exposed not just as racist, but as someone whose racism is so deep, he assaulted a federal judge without a second thought. Chen delivers the final blow. Officer Porter, Judge Thompson, spent 15 years as a prosecutor before her judge appointment. She's put more criminals behind bars than you've ever seen, yet you saw her as the criminal. Why? Porter breaks completely. I don't know. She didn't look like what, Officer Porter? Like a judge. What does a judge look like in your mind? The question echoes through the courtroom as Porter realizes. He's just admitted that his mental picture of authority doesn't include black women. Officer Porter, do you believe you're fit to serve in building security? You served honorably for 15 years. You just assaulted a federal judge. Been exposed as someone systematically targeting people of color. Admitted making assumptions based on appearance. How is any of that honorable service? Porter's world has collapsed entirely. The confident guard who started this trial is now a broken man whose career, reputation, future has been destroyed by his own actions and admissions. No further questions, Your Honor, as Chen returns to her seat. The courtroom understands they've witnessed the complete destruction not just of one man's defense, but an entire system of racism. Porter's questioning has revealed the ugly truth about how bias works in supposedly neutral places. The man who thought he was protecting the building from undesirable people has been revealed as the undesirable person himself. His 15 years of experience couldn't save him from the consequences of assaulting someone he assumed was powerless. Justice, it seems, has a perfect sense of irony. The woman Porter dragged away from her own building now sits in judgment of his actions, and the hunter has definitely become the hunted. Porter's discrimination pattern has been exposed. His believability destroyed, his future decided by his own admissions. Sometimes the most powerful testimony comes from the defendant's own mouth. The courtroom feels electric as both lawyers prepare closing arguments. Everyone present knows they're witnessing legal history, a case that will be studied for decades as an example of how racism works and how justice can win against overwhelming odds. Prosecutor Rachel Mills walks to the jury with the seriousness of someone carrying civil rights history's weight. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what you've seen these past days isn't just about one guard's bad decision. It's about a system that allowed, encouraged, protected racial discrimination for years while hiding behind authority's badge. Mills walks slowly past the jury box, making eye contact with each member. Officer Daniel Porter didn't just assault Diana Thompson that March morning. He assaulted the very ideas our justice system claims to uphold. He assaulted the idea that all people deserve dignity regardless of race. He assaulted the Constitution he swore to protect. The prosecutor's voice grows stronger. But here's what makes this case truly extraordinary. Officer Porter assaulted a sitting federal judge, the very symbol of the justice system he claimed to serve. The irony is so deep it would be comedic if it weren't so tragic. Mills pauses at the evidence table, pointing toward the mountain of papers. The evidence shows a clear pattern over years. Security camera videos showing Porter's double standard, audio recordings catching his racist language, statistical study proving his discriminatory behavior, witness testimony from respected professionals who suffered the same treatment. She turns back to the jury. Porter's defense has fallen apart because it was built on lies. He claims he doesn't see color while systematically targeting people of color, claims to follow rules while breaking every professional standard. He claims Judge Thompson looked suspicious when she was simply existing while black in America. The prosecutor's voice takes on moral authority. This isn't about honest mistakes or split-second decisions. This is about deeply rooted prejudice that led a trained guard to physically assault a federal judge because she didn't match his racist expectations of what authority looks like. Mills walks to Porter's table, speaking directly to him. Officer Porter, your 15 years of experience taught you everything except the most basic lesson that human dignity isn't determined by skin color. Your badge gave you authority, but you used it to oppress rather than protect, she returns. To face the jury, Thompson could have revealed her identity immediately. Could have ended this incident with 2 words, "I'm Judge Thompson." But she didn't because she understood something Porter never learned. That justice means everyone deserves dignity, not just those with power. Mills' voice builds to a peak. Porter violated federal civil rights laws, committed assault under color of authority, denied due process to a sitting judge, but most importantly, betrayed the oath he took to serve and protect all citizens equally. Find him guilty. Send a message that badges don't give permission to discriminate. Show that our justice system protects everyone, especially when everyone includes the judges themselves. Porter's lawyer Hayes stands up for what everyone knows is an impossible defense. Ladies and gentlemen, my client made mistakes. Won't pretend otherwise, but Officer Porter isn't the monster the prosecution shows. He's a man who served faithfully for 15 years. Made a terrible error in judgment. Hayes' voice lacks conviction as he continues. Yes, Officer Porter should have asked for ID. Yes, he should have recognized Judge Thompson. But at that moment, working an unfamiliar shift, dealing with a broken security system, he made split-second decisions based on limited information. The defense feels hollow even as Hayes speaks. We ask for your mercy. Not because Officer Porter's actions were right, but because good people sometimes make catastrophic mistakes. A guilty verdict will destroy not just his career, but his family and future. Hayes sits down knowing his argument failed before it started. Judge Martinez takes control for final instructions. Members of the jury, you must decide whether Officer Porter's actions are federal civil rights violations. Assault under color of law, denial of due process. The evidence is clear, the law is settled, the facts are not disputed, the jury thinks. For exactly 47 minutes, barely enough time to pick a leader and take a formal vote. When they return, the foreman's voice rings with conviction. On the charge of civil rights violations under color of law guilty. On the charge of assault and battery guilty. On the charge of denial of due process guilty, Porter collapses. In his chair, as his lawyer pats his shoulder helplessly. 15 years of career destroyed by minutes of prejudice. Judge Martinez delivers immediate consequences. Officer Daniel Porter, you've been found guilty of federal crimes that strike at the heart of our justice system. You used authority to oppress rather than protect. Discriminated based on race while hiding behind your badge. Assaulted a federal judge because your prejudices blinded you to her humanity. The judge's voice carries. Judge authority, you are hereby sentenced to 18 months in federal prison followed by 2 years supervised probation. You are permanently banned from law enforcement. Complete 200 hours of community service with civil rights organizations. Additionally, this building will implement the Thompson Protocol required bias training, independent checking of security complaints, Zero tolerance for discriminatory behavior. Porter is led away in handcuffs. The confident guard replaced by a convicted criminal whose racism destroyed everything he claimed to protect. As the courtroom empties, Judge Thompson sits quietly, knowing justice has been served not through revenge, but through the very system Porter tried to corrupt. The woman he dragged across concrete has made sure nobody else will suffer the same embarrassment. Power used properly protects the powerless. Sometimes justice requires judges to seek justice for themselves. 6 months after the verdict, the change is remarkable. Daniel Porter walks through Valley Plaza Mall in his security guard uniform, checking doors, watching for shoplifters. The man who once had federal authority now earns minimum wage protecting discount stores. His law enforcement career ended the moment he dragged a federal judge across building concrete. Porter's nights are spent in community service at the Martin Luther King Jr. Civil Rights Center, where he faces the people his actions hurt. Former co-workers cross streets to avoid him. His pension is gone, his reputation destroyed, his future limited to whatever work he can find with a federal conviction record. The irony follows him everywhere. The guard who thought he was keeping undesirable people out of the building has become an undesirable person himself. Meanwhile, Judge Diana Thompson has become a national symbol of dignity and strength. Her story has been featured in Time magazine, The Washington Post, countless civil rights publications. She didn't seek fame, but her courage in going after justice has inspired millions. The Thompson Protocol, put in place nationwide, has changed building security. Independent checking committees now review all discrimination complaints. Acquired bias training happens quarterly, not yearly. Security workers face immediate suspension for discriminatory behavior. Victims have direct access to civil rights. Lawyers, the numbers speak for themselves. Discrimination complaints in buildings increased 40%, not because discrimination is rising, but because people finally believe their voices will be heard. Investigation rates jumped from 12 to 89%. Accountability has replaced cover dash-ups. Judge Thompson's influence goes far beyond security rules. She's become the youngest person ever appointed to the Federal Civil Rights Commission, where she fights for systemic justice reform. Her legal writing on racism is studied in law schools nationwide, but perhaps most importantly, her story has changed how people think about power and prejudice. The woman Porter saw as powerless revealed herself as one of the most powerful people in the building. His assumptions about who belongs in positions of authority cost him everything today. Judge Thompson leads her courtroom with renewed purpose. Every decision she makes honors those who suffer in silence, who endure discrimination without help, who are judged by appearance rather than character. The leather briefcase she carried that morning now sits in the Smithsonian Civil Rights Museum, symbol of how dignity can win over prejudice. Visitors read the sign, "This briefcase belonged to Judge Diana Thompson when she was assaulted by building security for looking suspicious." It reminds us that justice sometimes requires judges to seek justice for themselves. Porter's story serves as a warning tale in law enforcement schools nationwide. New recruits study his case to understand how quickly prejudice can destroy careers and lives. The lesson is clear: badges give authority, but character determines how that authority is used. Stories like Judge Thompson's happen more often than we'd like to admit, but most never make headlines. Most victims don't have the power to fight back. Most injustices go unrecorded, unpunished, unchanged. That's why sharing these stories matters. That's why your voice matters. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to see that dignity always wins. In the end, subscribe to Truly Black and White and ring the notification bell, because we're committed to bringing you more stories of courage beating prejudice, justice defeating discrimination, ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Tell us in the comments. Have you ever seen discrimination disguised as following rules? Your experience could inspire our next story, because when we shine light on injustice, we make it harder for darkness to hide, and sometimes the most powerful person in the room is the one others underestimate most. The story you heard today wasn't cleaned up. It was told exactly as it happened. At Truly Black and White, we believe that's the only way truth can live. If you felt something, hit like, write your reaction in the comments, and subscribe. Every week we bring you voices that refuse to be silenced.